I want to talk about, like, internet weirdness and the way that I view Twitter. So I view Twitter, like, I actually really valued it. I valued using Twitter. I valued the network of people that I had access to on there as aggregators of information and knowledge, and I knew some very clever people and some very nice people who I built relationships with over like 9 years. And the way that I had maintained my ability to do that was I was quite consistent, 100% consistent with doing a certain thing. So if I ever encountered certain types of environments or behaviours or cultures where certain behaviours were normalised, where there were lots of sock puppets, where there's lots of... I would avoid that. And as I was never seeking to be a public figure, although I do write for the Nationals, I never had to compete in environments, there's nothing there that I want. So it became an incredibly useful way to record what happened when you added a social dimension to political communication. And often political cultures would react to me to protect their own identity because I represented the context that changed around them and they didn't know this. And they thought if they were just mean to me, then really I would go away, and they keep finding out that that's not the case. And we're still in that process. So when the Lisa Margaret 9 account, I thought that was a really interesting thing, like a little pastiche, because that's all the internet is, isn't it? A pastiche of any of us. An avatar. A tiny fraction of who we are. Except for some people, it's all that they are. So it was quite useful, like dangling it into Twitter just to see what happened. And I think by the time you've had an NHS doctor stalking it, like honestly, I've just published a list of reported tweets from kind of today. You should see I get one of those every few days. They sit there for hours going through every tweet. It's really funny. So that's kind of a demonstration of what we're discussing, and it's the tension that's previously been the media culture and the interface between democracy and us, and then all of a sudden Twitter's added this new dimension where they have to mix with us, and we're having to really rethink the way they uphold the rule of law, and that's the tension that's being played out on Twitter. So I think it's a really interesting bubble. I think it's really interesting that the toxicity from our political media has distilled itself into a boil. It clearly doesn't have capacity to have the conversation that we need to have to address the crisis that they've generated. Austerity's over. Is it really? Well, we've got universal credit is not deliverable and has taken every penny that we've saved with welfare. The only reason we think we've saved anything is because we don't know how systems connect. We've unleashed a public health time bomb. We've got eroded institutions verging on collapse. We've got a complete institutional redefinition come up. The cultures who have tried to uphold the rule of law being undermined as a response to the financial crisis are all in crisis because it's exposed the dysfunction in their cultures. We're throwing ourselves out of the European Union without a fucking plan. And we've just behaved like litigants in person in the negotiations. And we have, on the upside, the answer when I asked the question in 2010, how can you roll equality back, it turns out in 2018 that they're all quite open, that they had no fucking clue these systems existed. And they're all quite openly telling everybody that on Twitter. But I don't think the culture that are on Twitter realise that this has been their Marie Antoinette moment.